Yeah, hi all. Good evening. This is welcome to another video of mock interviews with Ankit Jain. This is me, Ankit Jain. So I am a Salesforce Technical Architect at an MHC. I'm 18 certified. I'm active in Salesforce events. I have a YouTube channel by the same name, mock interviews with Ankit Jain. This is my LinkedIn URL. This is the QR code for that. So you can scan and you can connect with me. I have whatever are the future settings that I will be taking in. I mentioned that in my LinkedIn profile, so you can have a glance. And also, there's a WhatsApp group that is there, and where I keep updated information about the future sessions as well as whatever are the upcoming Salesforce enhancements or features or any job opportunities as well. Those also I keep it updated on the WhatsApp group as well as in my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. Thank you. Yeah, so today we'll be having the mock it with Shubham and Hinakshi. So we'll start with Shubham first. So Shubham, let's get started with a brief introduction. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening, Ankit. My name is Shivam Godeswar. I'm currently working in the TCS from last 7 years as an IT analyst. From last 4 years, I'm working on the Salesforce, and before that, I'm working on the Oracle Cloud. In the Salesforce, I have certifications of the Salesforce Developer PD1 and Associate. In the Salesforce, in the basically for from last 4 years, I have worked for two customers, and in the FSL Field Servicing Cloud, and also the Service Cloud. So in that, I mainly work with the Apex triggers. In the development part, Apex triggers with the asynchronous batch Apex, future class, and the queuable. In the UI part, I mainly work with the LWC component. I have basic knowledge of the integration, and in the admin part, I worked mainly with the roles, profile, sharing settings, sharing rules, and the permission sets and the validations rule.
Yeah, this is quite good intro. And what one thing I would like to just say, instead of saying basic knowledge, tell them like I have elementary knowledge of the particular topic through Trailhead or something like that.
Sure.
Actually, verbiage actually plays a very important role. Like when I say like basic knowledge, they would ask you why don't you have proficient knowledge. So
Because I
no,
look,
no, it's not
yeah.
for you. I'm saying in general.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying elementary knowledge on this since I didn't get the exposure, but through my own self-learning and through trailheads and other useful links, I was interested in this learning, so I did that. Something like that, you can just make it out. But other than that, your intro is quite good. You highlighted your credentials quite well. Like I actually liked like you were on the right track, like from the very beginning. Like that's what is actually expected. Like what's your current designation? Then what is your current total years of experience? Then what are the credentials you hold? And then you started with your quite skill set as well, quite well. Just one question I wanted to have, like, your core strength is in FSL, or you are more to, or you are open in all those other customization areas as well?
Open with the customization area also. The same things means when I joined from last 4 years, I worked on the first my project is on the business service cloud. I worked on 1.8 years on the service cloud. After that, my project is ended, and I joined the field lightning services cloud. In that, I worked similarly. I worked on that cloud also, and currently I'm working on the means I don't have to say the customer name, so that's the reason
And
I'm basically working on the multi. Yeah.
no. The reason I'm asking is like, see, if you're quite proficient in any specific area, say it at the very last. I will tell you the reason because it's human behavior. Like whenever you go to the lab, whatever you say, whatever the last word you say, I will ask you for the questions from there. If suppose you are strong in that area, mention it the last, or you can say like my core strength lies in this one. Like
Okay.
so, since you mentioned at the means the admin areas, so just tell me like you worked with customization Apex. So in you mentioned you worked on future methods as well. So what is the use case like? When do you use go for future methods?
Future method mainly used for to avoid the DML exception error. And second thing, we also use to use the callouts while using the triggers. We can use as a callouts in the future classes.
DML exception, can you just elaborate a little more on that?
Mainly, whenever we have a such type of requirements, like in business, if you are like an account, we have an want to update an account, and based on account, there are some a group of the accounts can be tagged to the one user. So also we have to add some permissions or anything needs to be changed on the user object also. So that we are playing with the both the setup and non-subject objects. So when we are writing a code in the Apex class with for those setup and non-setup object, then we were getting an error, means DML exception error. To
Yeah,
avoid that, we have to write a one part of the query in the future class, and we calling in that code from the future class. So it will not then the error will not occur while writing that Apex class.
yeah, you made actually when you mentioned about DML exception, don't say just DML exception. It actually gives an entire different meaning. I know, like you wanted to say mixed DML, but be very much cautious about what verbiage you are actually technical verbiage you're utilizing or using, because that's why I was a little confused. Like you mentioned about DML exception, I was like you have to say mixed DML. So, but you explained it quite well, and you could actually summarize it in single line, like what you mentioned at the very last. Like if I have a setup and non-setup object in the same transaction, to avoid DML exception, I use that.
Yeah, but for that also, I mean, it is a good if I'm giving an example or start. I mean, just first one in line, I have to means mention what is the meaning of the mixed DML exception. Then I have to give an example, no, right?
Yeah. I agree to that. See, the way I look at it is, we have to means it actually depends on scenarios to scenarios. Like if you mention, like if the panel itself too much comfortable with all those things, he would directly just be want to be more concise. So in Lyft's words, if you're able to see, if they would want an example or anything like that, they would definitely ask you. So it's your choice on that. But just to be cautious, like when don't say DML exception, just say mixed DML. And another point is that you mentioned about callouts. So by default, is in the future methods, can you do a callout, or you want to have to make some changes in the future method?
Sorry.
And you mentioned like for doing the callouts, you have to use the future methods.
Hmm.
So by default, future method support callouts, or it does not.
It supports the callout by default also.
No, it doesn't. That's why you have to write callout equal to true in the parameters. Like when we mention the at future in bracket, you mention
Yeah,
callout.
same thing is if we are also writing same thing in the Apex class also, and we are using an HTTP request means when we are writing the code for the integration HTTP get request. At them also we have to make a call out as a true, right?
Yeah. So it's actually a tricky question, but it's very much important. Like by default, future method does not allow callout. To make it allow for callouts, you have to mention callout equal to true along with address future.
Yeah.
Can I pass object in the future method?
No,
Do you know why?
because means we cannot pass the list of the S object in the future method because future method runs asynchronously first of all, and second thing, if you are writing any code a piece of code for that particular objects, and if the data will be changed, then our code will be not run as per our thoughts. So that's the reason it is not recommended by the Salesforce, and it is not accessible in the future class that we have to write. We can use an S objects in our future class.
Yeah, that's right. Uh, Apart from like our desired
Can
behavior,
you turn on your camera, Ankit?
yeah. So after the future methods, do you know about the queuable?
Yes. Queuable is we can say is the advanced version of the future class, because there is a limitation in the future class. We cannot call another future class from its future class. Second thing, if we want to call a future class from the batch epoch also, it is not possible. So whenever we need to call a future class in the asynchronous Apex, we can call it back from the queuable, and the queuable is most advanced than the future class. That's the reason.
Yeah. So you were mentioning about like queueable being an advanced version of future methods, and you can't do the from future you can't call the future. You were explaining that.
Yes, and the chaining is applicable in the queueable. It is not applicable in the future class. The third thing, we can only write a 50 future classes in the Apex, but in the queueable, we can have five jobs that can be in the queue, and we also have a one term called as a flex queue, where 100 jobs can be a pipeline in the queue.
Another important part in future method you can't pass the object, but in queueable in the constructor you can pass the
Yeah,
object.
that is only yes, as objects.
Yeah. Another thing is you can call the future method from queueable. Suppose there is a queueable class, you can call your future method. You can create a future method in 1 second. Hello? My voice.
Yes,
Yeah, so I'm saying like you can call the future method from the queueable. That is another
yes,
advantage.
yes.
So there
That I
is
previously explained. That is I previously said now means we
enhanced
can call a
version.
few. Huh?
Yeah, I was saying like we can, yeah, that's the same thing.
Hmm.
So now tell me like what things I can do means how do I know like if a queueable is executed completely?
Execute completely
Means whatever is the
with the
item was there in the queue that has been
Hmm,
processed. How do I know
hmm.
that?
There is an object called as a appendix job. Okay, from there we can check the status of the job with the help of the job ID. We can check the status also. The second thing, from the UI, we can go to the setup in the Apex jobs, where also we can check a queue, that what is the status of the job. And there is an called as a one method system.enqueue job, from where also that we can check.
System NQ would add it to the queue.
Yes, it will add it to the queue. But I think, yeah, there is a two at previously.
Now, suppose tell me the use case, like how would you do that? Like suppose I have
Hmm,
set 10 records that I wanted to process in the queue, and
hmm,
in the UI I wanted to show the progress. And after
hmm.
that records are being processed, I want to send an email like these many records have been processed successfully, these many records have not been successfully. How do I do that?
Yeah, for that, first of all, I have to write in queueable method. In that, I have to first write an means get the query. In that, I have to update the those 10 records. Then after that, I have to use an Apex Sync job object. In that, I have to write an again a query, select ID from the status and name, and where we have to we and for that we are creating two variables where the error and the success records will store, and in that variables we can see the those records which are in the success mode and the error mode, and that will be those things we can pass that data in our email. The
But
same
how
we are
about
doing in the batch.
but how do we know like it has been completed? That is my question. Like when the
Sorry.
how do you know like the batch queueable has been executed or those records have been processed?
Yeah,
I got
for that we have to check. I mean, the status should be completed. We in the where clause.
but that wouldn't be like an regular synchronization. Means if you are writing a regular method, at that time, what is the status that it can give you? But you will have to poll it, do the polling every time, and query check the status.
Hmm.
No, but there is a better way of doing that. There are queueable finalizers that have been introduced by Salesforce. Read about those.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Queueable finalizers.
Queueable finalizer.
Yes.
Okay. Ankit, sorry, can you turn on your camera? Is it no means okay with you? If it is okay with you, the same thing.
Two things in that. First thing, if by default nothing is mentioned, then whatever is the in which class it is, by default on that whatever is mentioned, whether it is mentioned with sharing or without sharing, it would run based on that whatever is written. By default, if nothing is mentioned, it would run without sharing. That's true. But we can't always assume like it would be always running in system mode that query, because it would take like wherever is that Apex class, in whichever Apex class that is written, it would take that sharing settings, sharing control from that Apex class.
Yeah,
you?
Ankit, I totally agree, but I have one question on that.
Yeah.
Means I have to give an answer based on your question, right?
See, it's not always like the question would be complete.
That is means the today I have just an interview for the Capgemini. There is a different for one thing that I'm a little bit confused. First of all, there is a question interviewer asking, and what is he is expecting to answer. That should be the answer. That there's a two different thing.
Uh,
Because you just asked only about the SQL query, that is I'm asking. If you then again ask me what happened with the
no, no,
if
no,
we are writing under the Apex class, that's a different
no.
thing, right?
See, sometimes it does happen like that. So whatever answer you're giving, tell them what are your assumptions, or ask follow-up questions on that. It might happen multiple times. Like if suppose there was a scenario of integration, I would be asking you one any requirement like how do you do this integration. So when I am saying the answer, I will have to tell them what are the considerations I have considered, means things that I have considered, whether the what will be the request parameters, whether it will be a single object, multiple object, anything like that. So whatever are your assumptions, because in single query, how would it means if I have to execute that query, it should be inside a some Apex block itself, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way about it. No worries. But that's what you means is the right answer. So
Okay.
yeah. And then tell me the use case. Suppose I have the requirement like I have the Apex class and I have mentioned with sharing, but I want a
Hmm.
particular query to run in to not follow that and get me all the records. So how do I do that?
So for that, I have to make that Apex class as a child class, and in the parent class, I can mention as means in the parent class I can write an SQL query, so it will be work based on that, and that SQL we have the child that will be based on the sharing mode.
What is the simple way of doing that? What do you mention this
So
to?
okay, can you again repeat your question?
Suppose there is an Apex class, okay? Say
Hmm.
XYZ,
Hmm.
public with sharing class XYZ. Under that, I have a method with which I want to query the suppose products. I want to show
Hmm.
all the query all the products. But since at
So
the but at
inside that,
the
I can use a one keyword that is system underscore mode. So the SQL query will run in the system mode.
yeah, that's good. Tell me the difference between strip inaccessible and with security enforced.
Sorry.
Strip dot inaccessible and with security enforced. What is the difference between those two?
About the security enforce and state dot inaccessible. I'm not sure about the term of this inaccessible. I am familiar with the security enforcement.
Okay, so let me just answer it for you. So with security enforce, what it does is like earlier you will have to, if suppose you are doing any query, you had to apply the field object describe and field describe to check like if the field is queryable or not, right?
Right. Yes.
And object wise also you have to apply like is queryable or not. So to avoid those things, what Salesforce has done is like they've given the keyword with security enforced. For that, like whenever that query is executed and if the current user does not have access to those fields or object, it would throw you an error. Okay.
Hmm.
It won't tell you like which field is missing. It would tell you like you don't have the right access.
Yeah, that is the work of the security enforce. I'm talking
Yeah,
about the second.
1 minute, 1 minute. Let me
Yeah.
complete. Okay, so the next thing is around strip.inaccessible. What
Hmm.
strip.inaccessible does is like suppose there are say 5 fields. Okay, on that you have like 3 fields on which the access is provided. So what it would do is it would give you the results and it would skip those fields which you don't have the access and it won't throw you any error.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is around you worked on LWC, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so in LWC, tell me about the different lifecycle hooks.
In LWC, we have the lifecycle which is start with the constructor. Constructor is mainly invoke whenever the component is load into the DOM. Then after the constructor, we are having an connected callbacks. It's connected callbacks initializing whenever our component is loaded into DOM and it is initialize the elements into the DOM, then connected callbacks will occur. In the then after connected callbacks, there is a render callback. A render callback have it is invoked whenever if we are accessing the means if there is event change in the HTML or whenever we calling the functions from the JavaScript or event, then the render connected callback will occur. Then error callback will occur if there is any error we are facing while in the component. Then the error callback will occur. And in the last one is a disconnected callback. The work of the disconnected callback. If we are removing the components from the DOM, then the disconnect callback will occur.
Tell me the reason, like why should we know about these things? Because what is the advantage we get about learning about all these lifecycle hooks? Why is it necessary? Let me just rephrase it. Why is it necessary for Salesforce developer to know about the lifecycle hooks?
Because the life cycle hooks provide the structure of means it will define our structure of the components. First of all, the second thing, as per our requirement, like the constructor have the different part of work, connected callbacks have the different part of work, disconnected callback have different part of the work, render callback have different part of the work, and similar with there. But suppose we are working with the parent and child also, then there is a different means first the parent constructor will occur, then the parent connected callback will occur. After parent callback, then it will go through child constructor will occur, and child constructor, if any error will be we are getting, or connected callback will occur, and between that if any error will occur, then it will again go to the parent re-render callback, and then it will process the same lifecycle hooks. So to understand what is the structure of the components and the communication between the components, how it will be happen, and as per our requirement, we should fulfill the requirement in the best possible manner. For that, the Salesforce recommended that the LWC means the developer should know the LWC lifecycle hooks for the LWC.
Yeah, apart from what we mentioned, there's one more use case. Like suppose I didn't know about the lifecycle hooks, then if suppose there's no user intervention in between, what means without user clicking on any button, if I have to call any method, by default I wouldn't know like when to call that. So that's why I need to know about lifecycle hooks.
Okay. Also, and whatever I'm giving an answer, that is correct or wrong?
That is also right.
Okay.
You worked on flows?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me the different kinds of flows that we have in Salesforce.
We have 6 types of flows: auto launch flow, trigger flow, screen flow, platform event flow, trigger orchestration flow, and schedule trigger flow.
Okay. Tell me what are the different types of record triggered flows?
Record trigger flows, we have 2 types. The record trigger flow will work in the before context and after context.
Okay. So tell me, I suppose I have the requirement like I want to modularize the code. Okay. So I create a auto launch flow. So can I call the auto launch flow from before flow?
From before flow?
Yeah.
Means in the trigger flow we can call, but in the before flow we cannot call an auto launch flow, because auto launch flow it will be occur based on some actions, and before it will not occur any actions that will be committed in the database.
Yeah, true. That's why only in after flows you have the functionality to
Yes.
call auto launch flow. Okay. Can I call the auto launch flow from Apex?
From Apex?
Yeah.
An auto launch flow from Apex? No, we cannot call an auto launch flow from the Apex. It can be no, I don't think so. I'm not sure, but I don't think so. We can call an Apex. Vice versa can be happen in the screen flow, but not for the auto launch flow. We can from Apex we cannot call.
We can call that one. It actually accepts like a string comma object as a parameter, and then you can use flow dot interview, flow name dot start, something like that is the syntax. But we can do that.
Okay.
Okay. The next thing is around. Tell me the difference between var, let, and constant. keyword in JavaScript?
1 minute. We can call auto launch flow from Apex, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Sorry. Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, what is the difference between var, let, and the constant keyword in JavaScript?
Let keyword constant is basically the constant that we are assigning a value that is the constant throughout our LWC component. Means in the JavaScript function, and we can call that constant to any JavaScript function. For the late, if you are assigning the values to that late, that is only accessible within that component only. And variable is mainly that we can change the values of that variable. We can assign this value and it can be changed. That is the main difference between three.
Uh, Actually, what would be expected around is about the scope of definition of the variables like var and let. You can't declare let variable multiple times, but var you can declare it multiple times and get a fresh set of values. Assign a fixed set of any value. Like suppose taking the example, say var a. So after below that also I can write var a. It won't throw me an error. But the same if I try to do with let, it would give you an error.
Okay.
So read about these things in the LWC. That is
Sure.
quite important. Tell me, like, when do I use at the rate wire and when I would rather do an imperative calling?
Basically, wire method is used to get the data and fetch the data from the database to get the records out from the database. But if you want to manipulate the data, Salesforce data, then we can go to the imperative method. Secondly, imperative methods also work based like an asynchronous way, where wire method can be work based as a synchronous as well as an asynchronous.
Yeah, that's true. Another important thing to note here is like before if I do an imperative calling, I would have better control. Like suppose at the rate wire by default it would get called. So if by chance I need to check any parameters that needs to be passed, I won't be able to do that because at the time of execution by default it would just start the calling. But imperative it will be inside a particular callback and I can do some checks and then I can call the apex method. It would have imperative calling would have you will have a better control over your code.
Yeah, but we have to do it manually now. Once wire in the wire, the
Agreed,
whatever
agreed,
the error log.
agreed,
Huh?
agreed. I'm just talking about the differences actually. And that's actually what has been mentioned in the Salesforce official documentation as well,
Mhm.
that you will have more control in at imperative calling. But each of those mechanisms depend upon what is your use case, and accordingly you can do your decision.
Yes.
Tell me about the Salesforce security model.
Salesforce security model
Yeah,
means you are talking about the implicit sharing.
I'm talking about entire like how the data is shared. What are the different mechanisms? Start from the very
Uh,
basics.
First, we have the object level setting. Uh, in the object level setting, where we can have a OLWD, where the object can be a private, public, and read only. Then after that, we have the field level security that will be also maintained by the profile, and the object level setting also maintained by the profile. In the field level security, we can give the access to the users for the create, view, read only, and delete and hard delete, modify all these things can be can be give the permissions of the field level security to the users from the profile. That is the field level security. For the record level security, we mainly have the in the record level security we have that will be can be managed by the role hierarchy. Then the sharing rules can be used for that. We also have the manual sharing rule based on criteria. Also, there is one term called as an apex sharing, and based on the limitations we can use those, and that is used based on the record level access that can be managed by the role. Then If we want to grant any access, then we are having the permission sets to granting the access. If we want to restrict the access, then there we can use a restrictions rule here. There are some also assignment rules and the escalations rules where based on our requirement we can use the many things as per our requirement.
Yeah. Assignment rules actually, it indirectly comes under like you're assigning, so you're changing the owner or anything like that. So I wouldn't call like assignment rules as a part of security model. And also you missed mentioning about the sharing sets, which is available for
Yes.
community side. And another part is around teams. Like you have the account team, you have the case team, you have the opportunity teams. You
Yeah,
are the
teams, but then we can also needs to be considered in the queue public groups.
queue and
If we are
public
considering the teams, if we are considering the teams, then we need to also consider the public groups and the queue, right?
uh, public groups and queues are different. Like they are you means how do I means indirectly, like if suppose you have a sharing rule, you use either your role or public group inside that, and queues is they used for actually distributing the load.
Yes, but other teams also having teams, that is where we are selecting for the cases. That is also the maybe the same functionality have the work like as a group where we are providing the access for the group of the peoples, right?
Yeah, they are we actually add a specific persons to the case teams or
Yes.
opportunity teams, and we give
Hmm.
them like what and we just give the access that particular record, not all the records. So that is the difference. Other than that, the answer was right, but you can structure it better, I would say.
Yes. Because I'm not sure I'm talking right or not. I asked the question first time, na? That is the reason.
Okay,
Yeah.
not a problem. After the security model, where you can talk about uh, the roles. So by default, uh, the order means you have the grant access for hierarchy enabled for standard objects. For custom objects, also is it by default turned on, or you would have to turn it on?
We have tried it out. Give me a minute, Ankit. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah. I'm able to
Yes,
hear
sir.
you.
Sure.
Sorry.
By default, it is off.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me about permission sets and permission set groups.
Permission set and permission set groups is like permissions while we are creating in the permission set, the main use of the permission set to grant an access to the users. The second thing, when we are creating the permission set, it is not mandatory that we need to be also you means select a license for that permission set. We can also by default. But suppose we have the multiple permission sets and we want and if we want to merge those all permission set in one group, then we can use a permission set group. We can create a permission set group and we can add those permission set in that permission set group, and directly we can means assigning that permission set group to the users. So instead of doing the manually that one by one permission can be added to the user, we can make that group as a group of that permission set. It can be depend means we can make those permission sets of groups based on the license or based on as per our requirement, and then those permission sets can be assigned to the user.
Yeah, one more point here is to note that there is a in permission set group, you have option of muting any permission.
Sorry.
Muting any permission. Like
Okay, we can
suppose,
mute also permission, right?
yeah, like suppose there is a particular permission that is available in permission set A, and there is a particular permission in permission set B. But you want like whoever has the access of both the permissions, they should only have the least permission out of that or something like that. Then yeah, the option in the permission set group to mute any specific permission.
Okay.
Tell me about some of the governor limits that exist in Salesforce.
Uh, for synchronous, the CPU time limit for synchronous Apex, the CPU time limits is 10 seconds. For asynchronous, it's 60 seconds. The transaction that we have in the synchronous is up to 100, while asynchronous is up to 200. Then the SQL queries, there is a limitation up to the 50,000 records we can access. I mean, so we can access at a time. Similarly, in the flows also, we have a limitation that up to the 2,000 records can be accessed. In the reports, in the reports also up to the means like in future class, up to the future 50 future classes we can write. Same thing, it will be SQL. Yeah, in the we can up to have the 1,000 profiles, 500 roles, and 500 permission sets.
Yeah, that's quite impressive. But means if you would answer only the basic one, that also works fine. Because to be fair, panel won't know on most of those, but I do recollect like most of it is I have read through.
Yes, but Ankit, as per my experience, I have a 4 year experience. So means as per the means client also want, means customer also means who are taking my interview, they
Okay.
also want to means have the answer some like that means that should be
Okay, more at
means,
granular level, like more detailed.
right? Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tell me, like, if suppose you do a manual shading, what object is created in the background?
Man, in a manual sharing, there is no object is
Sorry.
created. Apex sharing.
Yeah,
In,
epic shading. Yeah.
in the Apex sharing, like if you want to means as you know, up to the from the sharing rules, we can create up to the 300 sharing rules. That is the governor limit we have.
Yeah, 50 plus
So
per 50 per object.
yes, yes. So if we want to share the records more than 300, then we have to go to the Apex sharing. Also, if there's a complex, we need to share the records based on the complex query. So for that, we have to go to the Apex sharing first of all. For like, and if I want to doing the Apex sharing on the account objects, for that I have to create an automatically Apex account sharing. There is a called as an account sharing object where the Apex sharing, whatever I'm sharing the records, that will be stored in that object. Account sharing.
I actually wanted the detail around the account share object, like the different fields like record ID, user or group ID, access level, and then the row cause.
Sorry. Can you help? Can you help me to understand again?
Actually, I wanted to know about the different fields that come up when you have the Apex sharing enabled, like you have the object share that is created, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was actually wanted to ask around the different fields that are available, like row
What are the
call,
fields that are available?
the fields for object share. Like
Yeah.
say,
What are the fields?
what are the different fields that are available in that?
Okay.
Do you know around the row cause
Row?
or row cause or sharing reason?
No. I,
Yeah, so
sharing reason. Yeah, sharing reason is I'm not sure about the row cause, but the sharing reason is in a field while creating and sharing record. While creating and when sharing rule, there is we can mention a description there. What is the purpose of that sharing rule?
if none is available, then what is the default value?
Sorry.
If suppose I don't specify any sharing reason, what is the default value?
The default value, whatever the name I am giving that is sharing rule, that will be the default value.
No, it actually is like manual. Like if you don't have any sharing reason that is created, then by default
Hmm?
the value is manual.
Okay, by default is value is manual. Okay.
And the disadvantage is like if suppose if you change the owner of that record, whom on which there is manual sharing being implemented, all those records would get deleted. unless you have a custom cause or sharing reason being specified in your apex or in your object share object or object share record, I would say, sorry.
Yeah.
So suppose I have the requirement, like there's a record, like in that I have a user lookup, okay?
Sorry.
Say
Hmm.
I have a object, I have a record of an object where I have the requirement, where there's a field which is a user lookup, say zone
Hmm.
manager, okay? Say taking
Hmm.
example of account. So what
Hmm.
I want is like if a person has selected a particular means, if I've selected zone manager of say ABC, then that record should be shared with ABC person. How do I do that?
Hmm. That should be shared by the ABC person.
Yeah,
That
that
can be
should be
done by the sharing rule. We can add that criteria in the sharing rule.
in sharing role based on whatever is the
Hmm.
lookup that is selected. You would be able to do that.
Sorry, 1 minute. That you are saying like an account object. In that account object, you had one user lookup as a user, right?
Yes,
And if I'm selecting as an ABC, and that ABC person should have the access for this account, right?
yes.
Mm, sharing to account is created. Okay. No, that can be done by the Apex sharing, or that can be done by the Apex sharing, or I can create one permission set and I can write and trigger whenever the account is created and who is the user. Then to those user that permission set will be assigned. But
But
permission set will work based on the edit and create access, so I can go for the Apex sharing.
object means permission set would give you the CRUD access, like what level of access, record
Yes,
access.
that is the thing. Yeah, so I will go from the Apex sharing because permission set only provide you the create, edit, and those access. I
Yeah,
want to share a record. For that, I have to go to the Apex sharing.
yeah, that's right.
Hmm.
Uh, I think we have covered the many questions for you, Shubham. So we also have Meenakshi with us. So you have any other other set of questions, or you want to clarify any things?
Yeah, I mean,